Okay, I think we're live. It's only going to be me tonight, which means it's going to be really exciting. Hey everyone, my name is Jake Sussman, Dyslexia and ADHD changemaker and entrepreneur, and I'm the founder of Superpower Consulting, which is a global mentorship firm designed to help kids with dyslexia and ADHD build their strengths and embrace who they are to then tackle their challenges through connecting them to someone like them, their own mentor. Now, tonight, I have something really fun planned for you. I'm going to share a little bit about how we're going to build a generation of master self-advocates. And the only way that we're going to best understand this is, well, when we dive in and do it together. So to kick us off, what I want to do is I want to share with you a little bit about my story. And if you're new to my page, this is such a great opportunity to understand who I am and where I'm coming from and why I'm doing this and why I'm so passionate about this. So please just let me know where you're watching from. I really want to know whether you're watching us from around the world, wherever you are, let me know. Because tonight we're going to have fun talking about how we're going to build a generation of master self-advocates. So to start, I want to sharing a little bit about a poem that I wrote called The Forgotten Child. Now, I kindly ask you to please shut your eyes so you can fully understand the story has left me so traumatized. Imagine yourself as the child that always smiled. You were wild and beguiled until the day you were profiled. This is the story of the forgotten child. Now, what I am about to tell you will truly make your stomach churn. They said, I have major concern, Mr. and Mrs., but your child simply can't learn. The child was labeled disabled. He was told face to face that he should stop his chase to a higher educational place because he couldn't read any book in the bookcase. This is an absolute disgrace. Those words should never come out of anyone with a knowledge base. From that point on, he was taken out of the classroom all day long, from homeroom to 3 hours past eating in the lunchroom. He became paranoid, full of anxiety and scared because he was told he was impaired. It felt like nobody cared. He was misunderstood as a result of educators thinking he was no good. He just needed someone to think that he could. You see, negative labels are destructive. They're counterproductive and obstructive. Now, I'd like to ask you to please open your eyes. To some surprise, a forgotten child is sitting before all of you guys. He defied the lies of that public educational enterprise. You see, what they didn't know was that this forgotten child had an epic thirst for knowledge. He refused to acknowledge, you will never go to college. He took those words and turned them from frustration into motivation. He was lacking an academic foundation, so his parents pulled him out of this cultivation they call public education. Now, let me bring something to rouse. Just imagine your academic journey and that the construction of a house without the proper support, that house will fall short. He was finally put in a place where his mind was no longer a disgrace. It was a place that built his academic base as strong as an iron case. They saw him for everything he got. This isn't no school of thought. It's something that the public educational system simply did not. And it was the first time that the forgotten child actually smiled since the day he was profiled. Now, let me mention One of the most notable individuals in all of mankind with a mind that was also defined like mine. Let's take someone like Albert Einstein. A man of credibility that had a learning disability. He was lacking much valuability despite educators' much accrediting, but that didn't stop Al's life journey to discovering the theory of relativity. So take a minute while I spit some poetry. What's the difference between you and every person the eye can see? Truth is, there's nothing. Because each and every one of us have our own unique ability. Einstein said it perfectly, that everybody is a genius. But if we judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking that it is stupid. Don't you see? A wise man once told me that the power comes from the young people knowing that they can change the world. Don't ever give up your shot. Your minds are all you've got. It's time we change this public educational melting pot, turning your minds into a robot. You get my gist? In this world craving to coexist, it's time that we work with the kids that are missed. With those who fit the mainstream schools perfectly, and in those who learn differently. Together, I insist. Thank you. Thank you. I want to just share that I wrote that in a time of my life where I was confident. I was confident in myself, in who I am, and where I am. I was a junior in college, but my friends, it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always like that. So, what happened? What we're going to do tonight is I first want you to let me know when you heard that. Hi, Bethany. When you heard that, when you heard my poem, The Forgotten Child, what came to mind? Were you thinking about, maybe you were thinking about a friend, a student, maybe your child, maybe even yourself? Where did the forgotten child fit in you? We all have it. I see the forgotten child as a representation of that part of us that society doesn't see or accept. Hi, Andrea. Nice to see you. The forgotten child is the part of you that society doesn't see or accept yet. That's the key. And that's the premise, and my mission is to make sure that all the forgotten children out there can finally find who they are. But we're talking about self-advocating. We're talking about self-advocating. We're talking about feeling your own power. But my friends, we can't self-advocate without having confidence. We can't have confidence without having a high self-esteem. And we can't have a high self-esteem without embracing how we learn. You see, I think we're so focused on our problems, on fixing our problems. But what if it's not? What if that's not how it goes? What if it's not how it goes? What if, as a society, we become so obsessed with fixing our problems that we've forgotten that all of the answers, everything is found in our strengths. Everything is found in our strengths. All the secrets. How do we expect to build confidence? How do we expect to build a high self-esteem? How do we expect to do any of this when we have no idea how we learn? You see, look at our comments, Jackie. Her daughter just said that she doesn't want to go to college. Most likely, it's out of fear. Because our kids are made to feel stupid or less than or not capable just because like we can't learn like our peers. See, that's the problem with the educational system. Now, I'm going to go on a rant. I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm going to stay focused because tonight we're talking about self-advocating. But there's a point. I want to go back and share a little bit what got me so passionate about self-advocating because it wasn't always like that. And Jackie, as an 11-year-old, I'm right with your daughter, Anna. I get it. How do we expect someone to want to learn when all they feel is stupid? Right? And I share this part about my story all the time. When I was in 6th grade, I was told that I would never go to college. I was 3 grade levels behind in reading, forced to read out loud in class. Forced to read out loud in class. Give me a second because I just realized that my computer's about to die. And not only was I forced to read out loud in class, told to my face that I would never go to college, that I was filled with fear, anxiety, and stress. Come on. That's ridiculous. But that was happened to me in 6th grade, Jackie. All right? So as my parents pulled me out of school, and I know that my parents pulled me out of school, and some of you watching this, you may not be able to pull your kids out of school. So I'm gonna get into that. So if that's what you're thinking by you just hearing that my parents are able to pull me out of school, we're gonna table that because I'm gonna come back to that later on because at the end of the day, our ability to communicate, we don't need policy to communicate to change what comes out of our mouth. We don't need to have money to change what comes out of our mouth. Okay, so there's ways that we can communicate to be powerful. All right, now I'm gonna jump fast forward to college. It was my freshman year of college. This is what got me so passionate about communication. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. The Martin Luther King, this is actually in line with this month because it's Black History Month. But Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail. This is super important. Okay, if you've ever studied the letter from Birmingham jail, it's so fascinating because here you have a man, a black man in jail, that writes a letter to the white clergy in such a way that not only got them to read it, but then got them to act. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? Remember, a black man in jail, Martin Luther King, wrote a letter to the white clergy in such a way that got them to read it. And by the way, it wasn't a short letter. It was a 12-page document. To read it and then make an action. That is power. When you dissect it, you actually can learn the way King spoke to the white clergy. These were the people that threw him in jail. He called them his brothers. He got on their level. He got in their world. He spoke in their world. This is self-advocacy. To the point, King proved it because he was in jail and he still got what he wanted. That is self-advocacy. When we are able to remove ourselves from what we know and our insecurities and doubts and put ourselves in the shoes of our counterpart. When we're in the IEP meeting and we're talking to the teachers and we're pissed off because they're telling our kids and they're judging our kids. Oh, believe me, I was on the other side. I was that kid. And you moms out there, we're pissed off because your babies are being told that they aren't good enough. How dare that school? Don't you feel angry? I'm angry just talking about this. So how can we remove ourselves from that pissed offness to be able to have a productive conversations to get the best outcome that we want for our kids? And on top of that, to have our kids communicate what they want. Okay? So tonight, I'm going to leave you with, there's going to be 3 different activities that we're going to do that I'm going to share to better help you connect with your kids. Because the number one most important things is that we enter our kids' world. Our kids will not, I will say this again, our kids will not open up if they are not comfortable. How many parents, and I want to know in the comments, how many of you have told your kids to do something 1,000,000 times and they don't do it? I was that kid who didn't do it. If my mom's watching this, please say it, because she would tell me, Jake, make a list. Jake, make a list. Jake, make a list. Jake, make a list. All throughout high school. It didn't take me until freshman year of college when I saw my roommate doing it that I had this huge epiphany about making a list. Okay? So, believe me, I know it sounds like you're a broken record, okay, but there's a reason. Because maybe we've not done enough job to get in our kids' world. And I hear a lot of parents, for those of you who may not know, I run a mentorship program for kids with dyslexia and ADHD. All right? A lot of the parents that I speak to refuse or say that they don't want to play the video games with their kids. But the thing is, that's your bridge to enter their world. Let's put it on a scale. Video games, you may not understand it, it may not make any sense, but it's the bridge to enter your kids' world. And that's how we're going to first reach our kids, okay? And for those of you watching this, please let me know if you're just tuning in. Where are you watching from? I want to know. I want to know, because there's nothing better than community. I'm just here to hang out, okay? Usually I interview people. I love interviewing people, but I also love talking. So what's better than just having a whole session of me talking, okay? Yes, I'm just reading Raina's comment about her 8-year-old son who has an assessment appointment tomorrow. Wow, good luck. And she just wants answers for him with learning disabilities and to move forward to help him learn. All I'm going to say, okay, is make sure that you help your teachers understand. You tell your teachers that we're all human. Yes, we're looking at our kids' performance, but at the end of the day, we are all human. Thank you. Welcome. I'm from Connecticut too. Nice. Okay. So the first workshop that I'm going to share with you to help us enter our kids' world, again, this is the first step of self-advocacy, is to understand our strengths. Because for those of you just tuning in, you can't self-advocate without having confidence. You can't have confidence without having high self-esteem. You can't have a high self-esteem without understanding how we learn, and our strengths, and our challenges. Okay. So, the first activity, and for those of you who may have heard this before, this is not an old one, this is not a new one, I say this all the time, it's such a great activity and workshop for your kids. I call it the superhero movie night. I know, it sounds pretty straightforward, but believe me, it's going to be good, alright? Superheroes. Now, I also know that superheroes have there's a lot of tension between the discussion of superheroes and dyslexia and superpowers and all that, but you know what, for all those naysayers out there, and if you want to argue it, I'm down. Let's go, bring it out, because I have all of the ways to tell you that is actually not a good argument, that we can't tell our kids that they have superpowers. All right, so I'm going to take my favorite superhero. It's Superman. Now, the point of this workshop or this movie night that you're going to do with your kids is to help them understand that their struggle isn't alone. That all of the things that we love, all of the things that our kids love, there's a reason for it. Okay? So, I'm going to give you the example. I love Superman. And Clark Kent is my hero, literally. Okay? Now, I don't just love Clark Kent for any reason, because guess what? Superman is not just Superman. His name's Clark Kent. What we learn about Clark Kent is that he was misunderstood, he was labeled, he was bullied by his friends, and his parents didn't know how to communicate to him. Does that sound familiar? He didn't really fit quite in well with in the mold of the school, right? Everyone thought he was different. He was kind of an outcast. Sounds kind of like our kids' stories a little bit. Now, as Clark Kent had to figure himself out and understand, who am I? He did that by himself, on his own. Now, that's cool. And it wasn't until the moment when Clark put the cape on, He finally embraced who he was. That's the point that I'm talking about. That cape, putting on the cape for the first time, my friends, that is what we're trying to achieve with our kids. So we're going to find our kids' favorite movie night. Captain Underpants. Diary of the Wimpy Kid. It could be The Avengers. It doesn't matter because there's a reason why our kids like these movies. All right? Now, after this movie night, we're going to give our kids a little bit of a scavenger hunt. Okay, we want to ask our kids, so what is it that you love? Why do you like this superhero? And let's talk about it. Then that'll give you a chance to talk about your favorite superhero too. And then we could turn this into a family discussion. Okay, and again, if you do have some other questions, I'll be happy to answer them as we go. All right? How are we all doing, by the way? Hey, Erica, how you doing? Wow, we got a lot of our parents on here. I love it. I love it. Perfect. Yeah, so honestly, the reason why we want to do a movie night is casual, but it's a way for you as mom or dad to enter your kids' world and to learn about what is it about their favorite superhero that they love so much. Ask why. Ask why. Because when we dig beneath the surface of what our kids love, that's going to unlock so many different possibilities for us to understand our kids and how to better reach them. Okay? So you are like an observer. All right? It could be even with your kids' sports. I always say, let's say your kids play soccer. Does anyone play soccer? Anyone's kids play sports? If your kids play sports, let me know because we'll use that as a real example. Okay? But if your kids play sports, let's say soccer, what position do they play? Do they play goalie? Do they play defense, midfield, offense? There's so much that we can learn based off what they play. For example, if your kids like to play offense, they're the ones in control. They're the ones that are going out there, putting themselves out there and trying to make a score happen. But if your kids are the goalie, they like to see everything. They're the observer. They like to make sure everything's happening, but also it's 100% on them if they get a goal. So again, there's a lot that we can learn based off our kids' interests. Okay, so again, self-advocacy happens when we can embrace how we learn and who we are. Because we can't self-advocate without having confidence. Okay, Jackie said soccer, every position. Well, that's good. And I encourage you, Jackie, to ask, except goalie, right? Because some goalie is boring because you just kind of stand there. But some kids also like it because maybe it's safer. But I encourage you, Jackie, to ask Anna, what is it about soccer that you love? She may say, I don't know. But maybe it's the cardio. Maybe it's a way for her to let out her energy. See, these are called outlets, right, Jackie? Because I know we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but to be able to have outlets for our kids and for our kids to embrace their outlets and to eventually be able to understand that they need these outlets in order to feel in control in a time when they may not feel in control. And we all have them, guys. We all have outlets. I'm curious what some of your outlets are. And this is something that we tell our mentors to talk about. We tell our mentors to talk about, there's three different types of outlets, okay? An outlet that boosts your heart rate. It's an outlet that boosts your passion. And then an outlet that boosts, right, she needs to run, exactly. That's an outlet that boosts her heart rate. Definitely an outlet, 100%. There's an outlet that then boosts your creativity and an outlet that boosts your passion. For me, it's model trains. It's piano and triathlons. And there's other outlets. And also this is my outlet, honestly. Talking to you and helping our kids. That's become an outlet for me. But guys, everyone has. So I want to know, what are your outlets? If you're watching this, tell me your outlets. Is it knitting? Is it photography? Is it drinking coffee? I don't know. Like, You tell me what your outlets are, because everyone has them and everyone needs them. Because guess what? If we don't have good outlets, they turn to toxic outlets. Drinking, drugs, smoking, right? Those could be toxic outlets, right? So we want to help our kids understand that they all need outlets. And that, by the way, some say that my model train set saved my life. Who knows what kind of outlets I would have gotten into in school, but instead I was spending my hours in the basement. Erica just said that her son's new hobby is taking things apart to see how they work. How did our broken laundry machine and hairdryer? Huh, nice. By the way, Erica, that's genius. I bet you, right, your son is going to learn more about taking things apart than he probably is in school. Have him stay in school. But I taught myself how to read by reading train books, not by reading the books in school, right? I had to read instructions. I had to learn electrical engineering as a 12-year-old, and I figured it out. But yet, I couldn't read a book in class. That doesn't make any sense. How is that possible? Erica, did your sons follow instructions, or do they like to just do it on their own and learn it themselves? And do you see, my question for you, Erica, do you see any difference in, let's say, are your kids able to perform the things that school says they're not good at during doing something that they love? And then when they start having to do the thing that school's telling them to do, even though that could be the same activity, they don't do it. I'm curious what you're going to say. I don't know what the lag time is on here, but I am very curious, because depending on what she says, and I'm hoping that she's saying what I think she's going to say. Waiting on you, Erica. It's all on you. But depending on what Erica says, this can mean that what's the priority in school? Is it teaching our kids how to read the book? Nice. Exactly. Thank you. Figuring it on their own, and then any directions from school, it's an instant shutdown because they don't feel in control doing it. When they're able to figure it on their own, it's all on them. It's all on them. So it makes sense. It makes sense. Their behaviors in school, maybe they get in trouble in school, Erica, but at the same time, when they're home, they're fine when they're doing the thing that they love. So the question is, how can we bring that together at home and at school? This all comes down to self-advocacy. It's fascinating when you think about it, because does this mean that your kids have a whole shutdown, a behavioral issue in school? But that's not aligned with their behaviors at home. So do they have a behavioral problem? I would argue no. I would argue no. See with ADHD, people say that the number one answer that kids say about their ADHD is that they can't focus. But that's not true. What's hyperfocus? For those of you who may not know what hyperfocus is, it's like an actual superpower for ADHD. It's this unbelievable ability to hone in your focus in such a way that time and space doesn't exist. Hyperfocus. You can think you're working on a project for an hour when it's 4 hours. Right? Erica, do your kids, how long were they spent on building a Lego sets? Probably hours. Hours. But yet in school they're a behavioral problem. Come on. Let's get real for a minute. Okay? I really encourage you parents watching this. When you're in your meetings or when you're at your parent-teacher conferences, tell your teachers what your kids love. And partner with your teachers and share with them if they're having a hard time connecting with your kids, because remember, your kids will not open up to your teachers if they don't feel safe or trustworthy that this person is going to enter their world well. No one will open up to anyone if you don't connect. It's human nature. It's not just your kids, it's adults too. Come on, I can tell you so many other people that maybe you may not want to open up to just because you don't know them. Just look at the stranger across the street that smiles at you. Just kind of look down and just keep walking. Right? So that's That's what I'm saying. All right? So it's the same thing with our teachers. If you want to help your teachers better reach your kids, tell them what they love. Erica, tell your teachers that your son plays with Legos. And that's how he follows the instructions. So maybe there's a project he can do that involves building and something that he could do on his own that may not be fully instruction based. And if they give you a hard time, you let me know and we'll have a conversation with your school. Because there's a way that we can better reach those teachers for your kids. Now, do we have any people watching on here that have older kids? Like in high school, maybe thinking about colleges? Or do we all have kids that are still in elementary and middle school? I want to know. If anyone has kids here watching that are in high school or college, I want to talk directly to you for a minute, okay? Because I know you're probably freaking out about the next transition, all right? Your ability to self-advocate is going to be make it or break it. 100%. 30% of college freshmen, Jennifer, listen up, this is important, okay? 30% of U.S. college freshmen drop out of school every single year. The stat doesn't even make sense. 30%. What's going on? What's going on with that? So, Jennifer, you're the only one so far that's commented that your kids are 17. Perfect. Okay? I want to know. If you're open to sharing, please do so. If not, you can send me a private message. But I would love to know about your daughter who's 17. Okay? What are some of her biggest fears about going to college? Right? What is also not only what are her fears, but what does she love? What are her interests? Okay? Because when our kids are transferring to the next school, the most important thing that's going to stay with them is their interests and their outlets. These are the things that are going to give them the confidence to then go to their professors, and say, hey, professor, I need accommodations of someone who's blind. Even though that I can see fine. But I'm an auditory learner. And we have to be okay with that. Because you know what? Everyone learns differently. No two people learn the same. I have this saying that everyone has a brain, although I like to hope everyone has a brain, but no one has the same mind. No one has the same mind. Now, Jennifer, something that, I don't know if you tuned in earlier, but I do run a mentorship program for kids and young adults, like your daughter, to help them navigate that transition, those first 15 weeks of college, to connect her with a mentor that will be able to work with her, not because there's something wrong with her, because this person has literally been in her shoes, right? So you're saying that her biggest fear is finding a routine and staying on top of assignments. Yeah. That is scary. But yeah, Erica, I will put that on her shirt. Believe me, I already spoke to my marketing. I spoke to my marketing person. We are going to be putting out a whole line of shirts. So stand by. Finding a routine and staying on top of assignments. Imagine that, plus having a learning disability, plus navigating school and health and social life in a new environment. It's a lot. So if we're able to go into college, already knowing that, okay, here are my strengths, here are my challenges, who do I need to talk to first? Okay, I need to talk to the accessibility services, not because I'm stupid, because I want to work smarter, not harder, okay? I need to find the accessibility services. I then need to talk to all of my professors before the semester starts. I need to tell those professors how I learn. Jennifer, if you want me to talk to you a little bit privately on ways that your daughter can better talk to her professors, great. But this is what's going to put her on top of the game to help her work smarter, not harder. Okay. This leads me to the second workshop that I encourage you all to do with your kids, no matter the age. This is a huge piece that we do with our mentees in our program. Okay? And if you have questions about the mentorship program, feel free to ask below. I see we have a bunch of our parents that are in our program on right now. So definitely feel free to ask away. Okay. This is called the vision board. Okay. The way the vision board is going to work. Okay, and this is for kids 7 to 23 and beyond. All right, so this is for all different types of kids. Okay, the vision board is where you take a piece of paper, you put it like this, all right, and then you're going to write strengths, challenges, not weaknesses, but challenges. Okay, because psychologically, there's a serious difference in the wording and how that makes someone feel. A challenge can be overcome. So challenges, not weaknesses, outlets, and life. Excuse my handwriting, it's terrible. Okay? Yeah. I don't know if it shows backwards, but we have strengths, challenges, outlets, life. Now here's the cool thing. I know it sounds simple. Again, some of the best activities are the most simple. All right? You as the observer, remember, you as parents, you're the observer and the facilitator. Okay? So, you're going to do this with your kids. You're going to say, okay, we're going to do an activity tonight. I want all of us, including me, we're going to sit down and let's just put everything on the table. Let's write what our strengths, our challenges, what our outlets are, and what we want to do one day. All right? If your kids write more strengths than challenges, by a lot, okay, then what you can tell from that is maybe you're dealing with an ego thing. Maybe it's hard for them to look at what their challenges are. If your kids write way more challenges than strengths, maybe there's an insecurity thing. Maybe there's a confidence thing. Not an insecurity. But maybe there's a confidence thing. This will give you, as the observer, unique insight to better reach your kids. Because you're going to have insight to how they think and how they look at themselves. Then, we want to learn about their outlets. Then, we want to learn about what do they want to do one day. And they might not even know. And guess what? They don't have to know. But let's just put it out there. If you were to be anyone, if you're the President of the United States, for all we know, right? It doesn't matter. But what you're really looking at is what their strengths and challenges are. But also what their outlets are. It opens up a great conversation that you can have with your kids. Okay? And if you have questions about that, please let me know. Hey Ashley, welcome. We're having a blast over here. Okay. Okay, I was just reading Jennifer's comment. Jennifer is a teacher at a junior college. Thank you so much for your work as a teacher and your commitment to all of us in our next generation. Seriously, thank you. So I've been able to help her see the professor perspective. That's awesome. So do you have any tips as a professor that you can share with other parents to better help them share with their kids and how to better reach professors? Right? Because remember, guys, we're dealing with human beings at the end of the day. We're dealing with human beings. And for those of you that are watching that are in our program, your mentors will be doing that in the next few weeks. So I'm excited for that to happen, and then we're going to share that with you. Okay, so again, tonight's going to be super chill, all right? Because I miss talking directly to you guys. I love interviewing people, but there's nothing more fun than just talking to my community. And this has definitely been a lot of fun. So, do you have any questions? Nice. Encourage them to go to office hours. Great advice, Jennifer. The only thing that I will kind of argue on that, but although I 100% agree with you, is that still is the result of I need to have enough confidence in myself to even go to office hours. And by the way, we see this a lot in guys. A lot of guys think they're weak or it's not cool to go get help at office hours, right? There's so many conversations that I've had with other college students and high schoolers and helping them realize that them not wanting to go to office hours or to the accessibility services centers doesn't help them anymore. It actually makes them work harder, not smarter. We want to do it the other way. We want them to work smarter, not harder. So you're right, 100%, Jennifer. And the way that we're going to get our kids to even want to do that is when we start thinking smarter, not harder. That's key. Super key. Awesome. Do any of you have questions about how we can build a generation of master self-advocates? Again, the way we're going to do that, focus on what we're good at, not our challenges. Focus on our strengths to then leverage to tackle our challenges. But the confidence and the self-esteem is found first in our strengths, because that builds leverage. Then we'll build the high self-esteem. We'll be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, it's good, I got this. We'll have confidence. Confidence is found when putting ourselves out there, thinking that we're going to fail, but we actually succeed. And the more we do that, builds momentum to the point of where I can walk into that teacher's office and I can say, teacher, let's partner. This is how I learn. How can we work together this semester? You're not being a teacher's pet. That is not a teacher's pet, because you're inviting the teacher into your world to then help you not only get a better grade, but overall, you're becoming a better student in the class. And no longer you're not a number. You're actually a student now in the teacher's eyes. Okay, Erica had a question. Curious if you had male teachers that had more of an impact on you versus female teachers. That's a good question. Well, I would say it's a little bit of both. I connected more with female teachers than I did with male teachers. The reason why was I also connected more with, like, I had a lot more, like when I was in school, I had a lot more friends that were female than male. I think that there was more of like when it comes to the female teachers, there was more of like a motherly figure, but at the same time, the relationships that I had with my male teachers were more like, they gave me they gave me like the man-to-man conversations. And those are real conversations, and you end up wanting to look up to them and saying, wow, this, you can ask the questions. And I was someone that wanted to learn more about the teacher than just them being a teacher, right? So I wanted to understand, why did they become a teacher? I was a little bit of, when I was in high school, I wanted different, I was just very curious. But to really answer your question, male teachers had a bigger impact on me because of the relatability component, because I was also a male. But I think female teachers were able to tap into me in a different way that male teachers couldn't. So they both played important roles, but regardless if it was male or female, Erica, the best teachers that stood out to me were those that took the time to enter my world. They took the time to understand me, to sit down and explain things with me, and ask me questions and engage with me. Those were the teachers, male or female, that stood out to me the most. Okay, I'm going to answer Winifred. I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I'm going to still read it because it looks great. Okay, my 11-year-old daughter did not want to go to office hours, and she's had a private dyslexia school. I had to explain that because of COVID, they are offering extra help if you miss something. I explained that the time the teachers were setting aside was exactly like when I went to college, but they were called office hours. She kept saying, I do well in class. I don't need to go. I had to build her up and encourage her to ask for help. You nailed it. They have to feel confident. Whatever. Yes. 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 But, I know, there's still a but. Now, there's not really a but. It's more like an agreement, and these are, like, your daughter has a lot, she may have a lot of confidence, or she may say that she's doing really well, which, by the way, she probably is. But I want to encourage all of you watching to, when your kids have an answer to something, when your kids give an opinion, for example, I'm already doing well, I don't need help. Where is that coming from? Is that coming from a place of fear? Right? Because for example, if you did the activity of strength, challenges, outlets, life, putting it all up, whatever, does your daughter, is she going to put more strengths than challenges, or more challenges than strengths? And by the way, I can list 20 challenges that I have. I can list 20 strengths that I have. Okay? I'm not saying your kids have to have one or has to have it equal to. That's okay. But I want to know, how does she view herself? Right. So her saying, I'm doing well, I'm doing fine, maybe, you're right, the answer that she's giving you is out of fear. So that's where, that is brilliant that you did that, because you dug beneath the surface. So the question is, how can we unleash your daughter? How can we unleash her? How can we give her that confidence, help her find that confidence? Maybe it's through a mentor, right? Maybe it's through having her see that there's someone who's older, not in the same school as her, but someone who's older that also learns the way she does, who has dyslexia, and can relate to her. And tell her that, you know what, it's okay not to always be perfect. You don't have to always be perfect all the time. It's okay. So, yeah, totally vibe with that one. Completely. Now, my time is kind of up, but because I love you all, I'm going to hang out for a little bit. But thank you so much for joining us. We do have a lot of exciting, interviews coming up. We're launching a huge campaign. This is going to be probably one of the biggest campaigns of 2021, and it's happening in February. So get ready. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because what's a surprise, right? But this is just going to keep everyone on your toes. But this is going to be one of the greatest campaigns ever. And I am on a mission, like what I said, to reach Jill Biden. I will reach Jill Biden. I'm going to reach Jill Biden. Jill Biden and I are going to have a conversation. Dr. Jill Biden and I are going to have a conversation about dyslexia, structural literacy, ADHD, and how our teachers can better reach our kids. Because 30% of college freshmen that are dropping out of school, that's unacceptable. The fact that 1 out of 8 kids, by the time they hit 8th grade, are reading below grade level, that is unacceptable. It's disgusting. It's disgusting, it's disgraceful, and it pisses me off, actually. This is one of the greatest countries in the world. It's a national security crisis. The fact that we have a generation functionally illiterate is disgusting. And all of you watching this right now, we're going to do this together. I will not give up on your kids, because I was your kids. I was your kids. I was that kid. It's disgusting. And it's not just my story. You have some of the greatest people in the world, most successful people in the world, have the same story as your kids. I'm telling you, now I'm going on a rant. I finished what I had to say. Now it's rant time. Let's go. Let's go. I can't tell you guys the amount of times I hear people preaching to the choir about this. Let's stop preaching to the choir and let's do something about it. Call your congressman. Call your senators. Get loud. You can get angry, but don't get too angry, because then they're not going to listen. Don't get too angry, because they're not going to listen to you. No one's going to listen to someone who's angry. No one. Just look at your kids. When they're angry, do you listen to them? Of course not. Same thing goes to you guys. Right? So let's lead by example. Let's do what Martin Luther King did, right, in a letter from Birmingham jail. Remember, this is a man who was in jail that had the white clergy make a change in something when they didn't even have to, right? He wrote a letter to them, not only got them to want to read a 12-page document, but then got them to do something. That's genius. If Martin Luther King can do it in jail, all of us can do it in 2021. That's it, right there. If King could do it in jail, we all can do it in 2021. Happy Black History Month. Happy Monday. It's amazing. February 8th. It's awesome. I'm feeling great. Get ready. There is a wave coming. There is a wave coming. Just letting you know. So all you school districts that may be watching this, who you know who you are, you know that you're not giving your students accessibilities in their IEPs and helping them because you're too concerned about money in your budget. You know who you are. I'm coming after you. I'm coming after you. We're going to team up. I'm not coming after you in a bad way. We're going to partner. I'm going to partner with you. And if any of you have school districts that you want me to talk to, bring me. Because I was that kid in the back of their class that they can't reach. And now, guess what? I have a voice. I have a voice. Okay? I'm serious. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. I quit my job a year ago in October. A year ago in October because of a YouTube video. To do this for your kids. And I'm not going to stop. This is my life's calling. So we're all in this together. Seriously. Okay. Ran over. Good night. I'm going to bed. Kind of. Okay. Good night, everyone. See you all next week.